Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalist, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney Vaccaro. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hey, welcome back to the Lifestyle Herbalist. So Sabrina and I are here with you today. You get both of us. Yay, we're finally back together. And we just started this little conversation about drinking and sometimes pressure with drinking and why do people press others to drink, and not respecting the boundaries that someone has set for themselves. And it's almost like, are you really a friend? Are you really trying to disrupt my boundaries that I set for myself? And why can't you support me? So anyway, we're going to have a conversation about all these things today. And Sabrina was just talking about a podcast she listened to about someone who is now sober. So,
Yep. It was actually not part, I excuse myself, but it was a book by
oh,
a
a book.
girl on Audible. I'm just gonna try it. Anyway, I find it fascinating because she goes into really heartfelt story about why she became sober and her story. And when you listen to it, um, I bet you a lot of us could find ourselves in the situations that she was in. Maybe some of them a little more drastic than others, but overall, I think it was like, your inhibitions after the third glass of wine are definitely different. The first one, you're feeling good, you're just socializing, and then it's kind of if you've ever been sober or not drinking, or you've been the driver and you start to watch people drink, it's like the first one, everybody's kind of like social. Second one, they get a little louder. Third, they're getting really loud. Fourth, like, and then it's just like all downhill, right? It kind of crashes. And so
Yes.
and then sometimes they're like, I said that? I don't remember. I mean, I've been there where I've said, do I remember that conversation? I had a conversation. I'm like, oh, I remember speaking, thought I sounded fine, but and so I really felt that it was like just something that I don't know. I liked it. It was called The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober.
Mhm.
That's her book.
Mhm.
And I think it's by Catherine Gray. I want to give out the shout out to that.
Yeah.
And just her, and there's another girl, Holly Whitaker. There's a couple of them that I've read because I really find it fascinating that in today's age, we can all say, I was just saying to Dabney, you can say, I'm going to quit smoking. Everybody's like, yeah, awesome. You can do it. It's better for your health. You're going to feel great. But as soon as you say, like, I think I'm going to stop drinking, people are like, what? Why? What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to survive almost? It's like such a phenomenon to me. And so listening to people's stories and women, especially, like, who have gone through this and are like, you know what? It's okay. And the things that you gain from not drinking and respecting your boundaries are greater than those from drinking and not respecting your boundaries. So I know, Dabney, your daughter was saying that she was trying to be on a healthier side, um, doing the whole 30, and she faced something at a party recently. So,
Yeah. Yeah. At a Friendsgiving, she was just talking about her situation and she went there and people like to, indulge and have fun and play games and they just happened to break out in a drinking game and she didn't necessarily want to at first, but then she did and then she's like, I'm not going to do this. Like I set boundaries for myself and so I'm just going to choose not to do that. And it just becomes sometimes that you just don't want to be that person. It's like, oh, everybody else is drinking except that person, and you're the oddball. And why are you being the oddball? But I know we've given these little chit chats before on this podcast and talked about, what are some ways to still participate, but maybe not come right out to say I'm not drinking. And, I just told her, I was like, well, I'm really trying not to have alcohol either. And so I have been purchasing kombucha and just adding a little sparkling water to it. And I put it in a wine glass, and nobody ever knows anything, because it looks like a cocktail or it looks like a sparkling wine. You can garnish something with like an orange or a lemon or a lime. Even a little piece of mint can be quite delicious. And you can still participate and you know kind of be under the radar if you don't want to be feel like there's a spotlight on you, because sometimes I think it feels like, oh, she's not drinking, oh, she's not going to be drinking, and then everybody else feels a little uneasy, which I don't understand. Why would somebody feel uneasy if I choose not to drink? You can drink if you want to. I have no judgment. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're thinking the person that's not drinking is secretly judging those that are. Could that be?
Could that be it?
Could that be it?
Well, generally, that's what they say. They say that if people are, encouraging you to do something that they're not doing, or that they're doing, is obviously, or they're making fun of you or whatever, it's because it's them wanting to maybe, or have thought about doing it and can't do it, or they feel that alcohol is the end all be all for them. And so they feel that everybody should be doing it. You know what I mean? So they kind of take it out, and they may very well feel like they've been on that side before where they're not drinking and like not participating and it's awkward. So it could come from that place too, right? I mean, there's so many scenarios, and I think that people just have to stay true to themselves. I'm
Mhm.
also doing a November. Every year I do November. Um, and then sometimes it leads into December, January, February. It keeps going because I feel so good. I
Right.
feel great. And I'm not like saying I over drink, I'm not like one of those people that drinks every day or anything. We just sometimes take it as a cleanse, as before the holidays. That's how it all started, with all these parties that you would go to, work parties and things like that. And so I've realized how much better I sleep. I sleep soundly. I go to bed early, and the next thing I wake up and it's like 8 hours of sleep. Like I'll go to bed at like 9:30, wake up at like, whatever, 5:30, and it's like I go to the
Yeah.
gym, I have great workouts. I play tennis. Today they were like, your game is so improved. It's like crazy. And I'm like, it's
Wow.
because I am getting rest and I'm not, putting this alcohol into my system, so I'm not feeling sluggish. It's like, because it's inflammatory, it's hurting my joints, so I move better, I move faster.
Of
Um,
course. Makes
so I
perfect
think it's all
sense.
part of that, and because I'm pretty healthy on the diet, or like my eating, I think that's been the culprit, And as you get older, as you know too, it just doesn't fare well with for a lot of hormones and everything else.
Oh, for
So
sure. It interrupts a lot of things in our cycles. Our sleep cycle in particular, I notice it. And wine in particular is the culprit for me. I always wake up around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and just wide awake. And sometimes I'm wondering, am I going to get back to sleep? Like, I'm going to have a really long day if I don't get back to sleep. But I'm usually awake for at least an hour, sometimes more, and I eventually get back to sleep. And then, I don't feel quite as rested because I was awake for a long time during the night. And wine does that. I mean, I like wine. I like to drink
yeah,
wine.
I do
Socially, I
too.
love it. But it's not, at this point, it's not really worth the risk of not having a good night's sleep. And I don't do more than 2 glasses if I do indulge in wine, never more than 2 glasses, because the third glass always makes me feel just yucky the next day. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not losing a day. I'm not losing a day of my life because of a glass of wine.
No, you just everything just seems like there's a fog around you. It just seems heavier, and you're just not as motivated as you would be,
Hmm.
right? When you don't.
Yeah.
And so that's why we like, and in this book, it's like interesting because she also says, you go, okay, well, maybe I won't drink wine, but I'm going to drink cider, or, oh, maybe I'll
Mhm.
try drinking, one shot of tequila because it's clean and it's like, less tannins and all that kind of, or whatever, right? So you try to
Right.
like substitute something else, but it's alcohol is alcohol. It's the same effect that you're going to have because it's in your
Right.
system. And Dabney and I were saying, like, your first glass, you're really great. Second, third, like, you're just fall. It's all downhill from there. You're just chasing a buzz that's just getting worse. You know what I mean? It might feel like you're having a great time, but sooner or later, you're just going to be like laying
No
flat
thanks.
because
Yep.
you're just not going to be performing well. And the next day, like, then you're like, well, how can I combat the hangover? I know we've talked about this before. It's probably not the purpose of it, but it's like how, like, why do we have to try and reverse how we feel? We made ourselves feel bad. Now we're trying to make ourselves feel better for something that we did, right? Like it, but like,
Mhm.
why do we do that? Like, oh, let's eat the carbs, let's eat this. Then your diet's like different the next day, and it snowballs.
It
So
does. It does. So, what are some ways to really have a different mindset? I was sitting here thinking about, just mindset. And I think it's just deciding and prioritizing before you ever step foot out of your own house to go to someone else's house. Or if it's in your house, then at least you have some control over other beverages that you can serve, yourself or for your guests. But even if you're going to go to a party, just being prepared, bring your own kombucha, bring your own mocktail, bring something that you can partake in that you can still be enjoying the festivities and enjoying the company, but not necessarily having the alcohol. But it's still, you can still enjoy something that's, fun and fruity or sweet or sour or whatever flavor you like.
and now there's so many like great non-alcoholic beverages like that they're mimicking like gin, beer, that kind of thing. So you can find some different options to partake in. I mean, if you
Yeah,
just like the taste of it and you just don't like the buzz of it. I know my husband sometimes says like, I don't see the point. It's like crazy. Like if you just drink, I'm like, yeah, but like if you don't want that feeling, he's like, well, that's the whole reason why some people drink. I said, yeah, but some people don't. Maybe they just like the taste of it, and if they have that taste, they'll still feel fine because they'll be like, oh, it felt like it. And maybe it's like it will do a trick in your mind, you know what I mean? That you'll feel relaxed. I don't know. I went to dinner a couple weeks ago. It was the first weekend that we were doing November, and my friend was drinking a really nice glass of red wine, and it looked so deep and rich in the smell. And I was like, oh, it smells so good. But I had like a mocktail. It was like a Moscow Mule mocktail.
mm,
It was not probably the healthiest option, but somebody had brought it to our house to try. So I was like, okay, I'll just bring it with me. Um, and it was fine because I drank it and I felt like I was partaking. I didn't really miss it in the end. Do you know what I mean? It looked
yeah,
great, but then the next day when I woke up and felt great, I was like, it was no big
it's
deal.
all
I
worth
played
it. Yeah,
cards, I was winning, I was like
yeah,
laughing, still had a good time. It wasn't like I was like quiet and reserved and it did something. And so I think we really just have to, as you said, shift that mindset that it's going to do something more for you. And remind yourself that it's really not like you're a person, and if you go out with your friends they're going to like you when you go out with them sometimes when you don't drink, right? So
of course.
it's
Yeah.
the difference. And I know even when I quit smoking, as I smoked many years ago, um I my mindset was that I would think that everybody who smoked was off looking awful. Like they were like witches of the West, like all crinkly and gross teeth. And like if you can see the actions I'm doing, it's pretty funny, but like yellow teeth that are all falling out and like weird craziness. And so I think sometimes when I think of myself of the next day after drinking, my eyes are all puffy, my skin is not really great, it's all dry, I haven't
Mm,
slept well, now I'm getting black circles under my eyes. So I just think of myself that way, and I think like, what would I prefer? To look vibrant or to look dull and gray and
Right.
what
Yeah.
if that's doing it to my skin and my face, what's it doing it to my insides?
Yeah.
So that's how I
Hmm.
think of it. Not to say that I
Well,
would never have another glass of wine, I try my best, but or a drink, but I'm trying to get out of that era, really.
yeah, I'm not a no that I'll never drink again.
Mm-mm. A
But
soberish.
I'm gonna be really choosy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
soberish.
choosy. Yeah.
A mindfulness about it, like mindful eating. It's not like hard no, because I don't have a problem, I would say,
Hmm.
because I can go months without it. But I just think I'll do it when I feel that I want to have it. a glass of wine, sure, you know.
Yeah,
But
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I live up at the lake and it's winter. If there's like a lot of opportunity, like now it gets dark at 5 o'clock to say, hey, I'm going to have a glass of wine after a long day of activity, you know? So my also thing is that I've taken up knitting. So I'm knitting socks. So that keeps me busy because if I'm drinking, I can't focus on finishing my projects. I'm drinking more and more tea, which I already
Oh,
do,
it's
but
a
in the
wonderful
evening, it
time of year for
definitely
tea. Mhm.
warm. It's warm and inviting at night. Um, and so I saw somebody actually put it, I was a um, Instagram post and somebody was saying like, in order to get your water intake and like do the sober November, whatever you want to do, or, dry January, put it in a wine glass
That's cute.
or martini glass. And they put like little garnishes and they were like sipping like their water, but which might never matter, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
so
It feels
these
fun,
are you
and it is fun. I mean, life should be fun, and whatever brings you joy. I'm
yeah.
just not sure, I'm sure alcohol doesn't bring me joy necessarily.
It might be bring a sense of relax, but there's different ways
Yes.
to relax, like a yoga or meditation or going out for a walk. I mean, at night,
Mhm.
dark, maybe not, but it could.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and
that's
the other thing is, we ask our liver to do so much for us. It has to really synthesize our hormones. It's part of our immune system. And so when we're drinking alcohol or, excessive amounts, like we're asking our liver to do even more. To your point, when you look dull and your face feels gray and puffy, like that's liver. Our liver is directly related to our skin. And if our liver isn't functioning well, we're not going to look vibrant. We're not going to look like we are well rested because our liver is having some problems too.
pushing too hard, right? And, you know, I think everybody has their journey and everybody has to figure we're not here to say it's a no. I know we've probably had a podcast early on in our podcast about this, kind of about indulging more so about everything. Um, but it's just being mindful about as you get older because what you're doing to your body, what you did to your body in the past is affecting you now. What you'll do now is going to affect you later. So, think of it that way as your longevity. And like I said before, it's so easy, or not easy, but it's people quit smoking and it's a hurrah, I saved all this money quitting smoking or stopping or, but it's a lot harder to quit drinking because there's a lot of social stigma around it. Like you're inside, you're doing things like smoking, you have to go outside, you got to bundle up. Sometimes it's a little bit more of a thought process, easy to get over for some, not all. I'm not downplaying it because
Right.
it's not always easy. Um, but you have to have it and you have to do it for yourself. And if it's something that you really want, like your daughter, like myself, like you, whoever, it's like you just have to be true to yourself. And
Right.
if people
And
want to
set
be the
those boundaries.
naysayers,
Hmm.
just let them be the naysayers. And when they wake up the next morning feeling crappy and you're feeling great because you didn't partake as much or only had one glass of wine as opposed to three glasses of wine, then
So
that's
be
great.
it. So be
Yeah.
it.
That like just let it go. Like that's
Hmm.
fine. Like I remember back in the day, my cousin, this was when we used to do the hazing and it was like you had to drink kids would really drink for initiations and things like that. And I had a cousin who asked me like, I don't want to drink. I'm not a drinker. I don't really want to partake. I said, so get one drink in a bottle. And I said, when you go like somewhere, just go dump it out, even if it's at the bar. I said, just dump it and then go to the bathroom, stick it in the back of in your pants in the back. So because they used to check you for alcohol, you wouldn't be allowed, and fill it with water. And then come out, and you'd always seem like you have a full bottle of water, like a full bottle, but it would just be water, and nobody will know.
Right. Right. Good advice.
And that was because if you didn't have something in your hand, they were going to force you to drink, which is terrible.
Mm.
And that's why I think now the generations that have come and are now they're not into the all partaking. They're doing, maybe they're doing recreational drugs, I don't know, or maybe nothing at all, but a lot of bars are closing and things like that because people aren't doing the things that maybe my generation, the generation below me did, you know generations above us, because it was a thing of prestige to drink, to have champagne, to do the whole thing, right? I think.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know,
I
but
think it's more of it was a lot of
social.
socialization. Yeah. But, the newer generations are just not quite as social. Like they're not interested in going to the dance clubs
They're
or
more
going to go meet somebody. They're on their
phones.
apps and they're meeting people through their apps and through
Sure.
gaming and things like that. So they're just meeting people differently than where you and I used to meet people.
Which is kind of
That's-
it's kind of good, sad too. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of very sad about like the whole. Anyway,
Yeah, but we
that's a
didn't
whole
have,
nother podcast. We'll
right,
talk about
we
that
didn't we
another
didn't
time.
have the means.
Socialization.
Yeah, we didn't have the means to know everything in every moment. Like we didn't have the means of having a cell phone or a social account or anything like that as to what was going on. We actually had to go and show up and see if the bar was even open.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. So I think, I guess the whole drinking thing, it's just like trying to eat healthy. We've had that conversation. It's anything, you're right, set boundaries because it's anything like that. Even at a party, you want to eat healthy, eat healthy. Somebody's like, you're so
And
healthy,
bring
just
something
eat
and bring
healthy
something that's
and
healthy
bring
for you.
something.
Yep,
Just bring
absolutely.
whatever you have to do when I just bring something with you. Don't assume or expect that somebody will have like something for you to drink. Bring something that you can enjoy and be like, you know what, I'm fine. Or if you only want the one drink, bring the one thing that you enjoy and be
Hmm.
done with it. If it's a cider or if it's a mixed drink, put it in a little container and bring it, and then that's all you drink and put some water in there, and nobody's ever going to know the differences because once they start drinking, nobody really is paying attention anyway. They're just focused on their own buzz anyway. So it's
Yeah,
like they will just be like, okay. So,
yeah. And when we're coming up, to these holidays with, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, there's just going to be a lot of festivities. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for partaking. So having a mindset, deciding your boundaries, what works for you, and try not to feel the pressure of someone else that tells you that you need to do something for them because it's not about you at that point, it's about them. So
exactly.
understanding that is really important as well.
Exactly. Famous words. You do you.
Yeah. Everybody do themselves.
That's it. That's it.
All right. Well, happy holidays, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
No.